Recording in progress.
All right, so welcome everyone to our strength stability class, balance and stability class. So today, we will be doing our workout, working a lot on our feet, just standing, doing some balance work on our floors as well. So we will be doing some exercises on the floor, but also there's modifications if we can get down to the floor. Not sure why this light's flicking on and off. We could do some modifications with standing exercises as well. Okay, so other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. This class we won't be burning as much as my last class if you were in there, but this is gonna be still very beneficial to your health. So let's go ahead and just, let me actually detach this light real quick. This decided. What's going on? Okay. That was weird. Okay. So let's go ahead, Romberg stance. So you could do these barefoot or with your shoes on. Okay, so we're here, and all we're gonna do is just stand here. Just be aware of any little sensations on your ankles, on your arches. Just to make sure that everything feels okay. You're just comfortable here. Doing this for about 15 to 20 seconds. Now we're gonna look left to right. We just turn left to right. Welcome everyone. All right, now up and down. So just sometimes changing where our eyes are looking could throw off our balance, so just be mindful. If you feel little aches or shakiness going on in your ankles or arches, maybe even your knee. Now this is where we're gonna close our eyes. So again, if you're not comfortable, open your eyes wide away, and you wanna make sure that you also open up your stance. So don't just open your eyes, but also separate your feet. So just close your eyes, hands at your side, or you could cross them right in front of you. Just breathe. And open your eyes. Let's go ahead and begin the rest of the session. So, right, we're gonna go ahead and do our heel to toe rocks. So this is, I prefer for some of this foot stuff that we're on our feet, if we do them barefoot. So you could take your shoes off. Sometimes just the shoes, there's too much wear and tear on the shoes could really influence your balance and could sometimes make it worse if they're coming apart in some areas. So let's go ahead. So right here, pretty much what we're doing is just rocking to our toes and then dropping our heels down slowly, rocking to our toes, keeping those heels elevated for about a second, then bring them back down. Toes, up. Just rocking back and forth. So you should feel your calves flaring up, your arches gain some activation as well. Maybe even your ankles are popping. I know mine sound like popcorn sometimes. All right, very good. Okay, next we're gonna go ahead and do slow high knee marches, okay? So for this one, we're just driving our knee up slowly, as high as you can, then bring it back down slowly. And a lot of these movements that we're doing today, they're not really taxing when it comes to our heart rate. So we don't need as much rest for these. So again, just the slower you do it, the better. purpose of this movement is not to work on your quad strength. It's to be on one foot as long as possible. So that's why we want to do them slowly. Let's do 2 more on each side. And last one here. Okay. All right, if you're in my last class, this movement might seem a little familiar, but if you weren't, then this is gonna be your first time doing it. So it's gonna be similar to the staggered Romanian deadlift, but there's gonna be a little caveat to this. This is where we switch. So you're still gonna go staggered, okay? Slight bend at the knee, but this time you're gonna go hold your dumbbell with one hand, come down at the bottom position, you're gonna switch that dumbbell to your other hand and then come up, okay? So if you're in the last class, still working out that hamstring and glute, but now switching is gonna throw off your balance a little bit. So we're gonna do 6 on each leg, okay? So is everyone ready? So stagger and begin. So go down, switch, come up, and that's 1. Okay, so again, go down, switch at that bottom position, 2. Go 6 on each leg, 3. 4. 5. Remember, it's slight bend at that knee. And 6. Very good. All right. So again, just that is a more demanding lift, so we want to just shake our legs off a little bit. Let's go ahead, right knee, right leg in front of you, slight bend at that knee. Left leg is staggered and begin. So left hand comes down, switch at the bottom position and come up. It's 1. Bottom position, 2. If you really want to bring your balance into it, then you could just step on your toes on that back foot, or you could even try to elevate it. And if you elevate it and you're just keeping all that weight on that right leg, then you're really working on that balance. 5. And 6. Awesome. Very good. All right, this is your time to rest. Let me just note this on the app. Okay. All right, this is another movement that if you're in the last class is also gonna be familiar. It's the curtsy lunge with the leg lift, okay? So this is gonna be a curtsy lunge, and then when you're here, you could drive your knee up, okay? Now you're gonna reset, curtsy lunge, and drive your knee up. All right, so working on that lateral glute one more time. This one is gonna be a little bit longer. So I know some of you missed the last class or aren't enrolled in that, so we wanna make sure that we still get our strength portion in. So let's go ahead, we're gonna do 8 on each leg, okay? So just body weight, curtsy lunge, and then reset, but instead of resetting, you drive that knee up and then back down. So that's 1. You want 8 on each leg. Okay, and remember, you could always have a chair or a counter to just hover your hands over as well, just for that safety net. 2, 3, 3. It's working on that balance. 4, 4, and again, a modification for this would just be the curtsy lunge, step back, and then do a high knee drive, okay? 5, ooh, my ankle really shakes on that right side. 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, and 8. chest right now. Okay, so this next one we will need our chair for this. This is gonna be a single leg air squat, okay? So single leg, I'm gonna have two variations. Okay, so for this one, you could make it a little bit more challenging by bringing your left ankle and resting it on that right knee and making more of like a performance stretch, but you're gonna go down on it. Again, my hands hovering over the chair for support. Now, if you wanna avoid that and just work a little bit more on balance, you could just have that leg floating either behind you or in front of you, and you wanna do a squat in that motion, okay? So again, hover your hand over it. You don't have to grip it, the chair, you could just hover it. Now, I know some folks have some knee issues. This one's gonna be really difficult to modify for that one specific knee. So what you could do, instead of, if that knee flexion irritates it, there's no really way around that unless we just stretch it out. You could do a Jane Fonda standing hip abduction here, okay? So that would be the only modification. It's kind of hard to modify that single leg squat. All right, let's go ahead and begin. So I'm gonna go with the elevated single leg squat. We're gonna do 8 to 10 on each one. So I'll go side angle. You wanna keep your torso upright. My hands are just hovering over the chair because I really wanna work on my balance. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, very good. If you're ready for the next one, just switch legs. I'm gonna back up and down, up, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one takes about 2 seconds down, 2 seconds up. 6, oof. 7, and 8. Awesome. Good work. 16 total. All right, split squat, heel lift. Okay. All right, this is gonna be a staggered lunge. So for this one, we're gonna be in a split squat position. So pretty much one leg's here in front of you, our left leg's in front of you, right leg is behind, but we wanna be on our toes for that hind leg. And if you're able to get your front toes on, your front foot on your toes, that's gonna add another balance factor into it. For again, anytime we're working with balance and you feel uneasy, have that chair nearby. So if you can, elevate both heels off both feet, and we wanna go down and up. Okay. So I'm just on my toes up here and then back here as well. I'm gonna do 6 to 8 of these. This is targeting this right quad and this left hamstring. And I'm gonna rest. This one I do wanna get a little bit more rest because you're working both legs. So about 20 seconds rest. We're gonna switch legs. Now we want that front leg, that right leg to be in the front, and then that left leg to be on the back. All right, so find your position. Remember on your toes, so you could start your heels off the ground, down and up. And there goes my balance. All right, down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, rest your legs. Give yourself about 40 seconds for this one. We're gonna go into another more relaxing balance movement. So we're gonna go with our tandem stance in the next 30 seconds or so. Again, talking about shoes, if you have workout shoes that you've had over a year and you use for walking, for garden work every day, just commuting, you probably need to replace them. Shoes are made to last about 400 to 500 miles. They're just like tires in a car. And the average distance that a person walks per day is somewhere between 2 to 4 miles, depending. Sometimes I know some of you might walk more. So you'll go over those 400 or 500 miles, sometimes in a matter of 6 months. So make sure you're checking out your shoes. And a good way to look at them is, these are my running shoes, is sometimes you'll see these little wrinkles appearing on the shoes. And the deeper and more they appear, the very more likeliness that you have to replace those. And I actually have some old shoes here. So these shoes, these wrinkles, I don't know if you could see with the camera, but these naturally aren't on these shoes. When you see too many of those going on, it's probably time to replace them. So I just have those for when I go in the water at a creek or anything like that, so I don't use them very much. All right, we're going with tandem stance, right foot in front of our left. Right foot in front of the left here. And again, just relax, just like the Romberg stance earlier today. So now our base is a little different. Instead of being the square with the Romberg stance, tandem stance, now it's a skinnier rectangle. So let's go left to right. Looking left to right. Up and down. So again, getting a nice stretch with this. While also testing our balance. Remember, anything that's balanced, you could have your hands over your chair. Alright, so this one, again, be mindful. We're going to close our eyes, separate your feet, and open your eyes if you feel uneasy, okay? Ready? 20 seconds. Go ahead and close your eyes. If you feel uneasy, open your eyes and separate your feet. We're at 10 seconds.
Hey, Julio.
Yes.
I noticed that putting all my weight on my back leg. Should it be even, or am I doing that right?
No, and time. So I think we were talking about this. Was it recently? It's gonna depend on where your hips are sitting. If you just have a tendency to kind of swing your hips back a little bit, it's gonna be right over your feet. So that's where you're gonna feel it. And if you're leaning forward, it's gonna be on that forefoot. I think most of us that were having that conversation were leaning a little bit forward, or just right in front of that front heel. So that's where we're feeling a lot of pressure. But yeah, all you have to do is just modify kind of position. Instead of having your hips back here, swing them, lean a little bit forward so you find that evenness. But yeah, over time, it could just be, you might be favoring, like a sprained ankle from the past, or some knee issue or something. So naturally, your body's gonna go to what's more comfortable. But if things are feeling better, yeah, you want to be kind of over, like right on your back toes or your front heel, if that makes sense, like right on that line, so it's pretty evenly distributed. So, did we have any past injuries that maybe affected that?
No, I just thought I was doing it wrong, but it sounds like I was.
Okay. Yeah.
I need to put it in the center is what I'm thinking.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I'm flat-footed, so to me, any position I have my feet on sometimes hurts. So our next one's gonna be a slow motion push-up. Okay. So this is gonna be a push-up modification where we are on the floor, and we're just slowing it down. Instead of doing it at our traditional speed, we're just gonna go ahead and modify it by slowing it down. So instead of doing our typical 8 to 12 repetitions, maybe we're just doing 6 to 8. And if we're doing them slower, I prefer if we start off first with our knees. So we're gonna go wide, and then slowly down, and then slowly back up, okay? So we don't wanna see this motion here, right? Since we are doing 6 of these, we'll probably do a second round of these, okay? All right, so let's go ahead with the push-ups. So cross your ankles, you're on your knees. Remember, the wider your position with your hands, the more you're gonna use your chest. The more narrow you bring it in, the more you're gonna use your shoulders and your arms. So find that middle ground. Ready? So 6 to 8 of these, and slowly down, slowly up. So inhale on your way down, exhale on your way up. 3, 4, 5, 6. This is working on our upper body stabilizers. 7 and 8. Very good. Ooh. Okay. All right, next we have a plank with alternating leg lifts, okay? So that's pretty much, we're gonna be on a forearm plank. So on your forearms and on your feet, your toes. So you're gonna bring one heel up and then switch and bring the other heel up. So we're just gonna alternate, okay? So let's slow it down. Don't do them too quick, because once you do that, you eliminate the whole balance concept out of it. So we're gonna go for time, 30 to 40 seconds, okay? All right, here we go. Let's try to keep that foot elevated for at least 2 seconds before we switch. And begin. So 1, 2, switch. 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 Make sure your core is nice and tight. 1, 2, switch. Your hips shouldn't be too high off the ground. 2, switch. 1, 2, switch. We're at 30 seconds. 1, 2, switch. 1, 2, switch. And 1, 2, switch. Whew. I don't know about you all, but planks never fails to make me sweaty. I always sweat with planks. Alright, we're at the 25-minute mark. Let's go ahead and take a quick little water break before we get parched in here. Any questions so far? Pretty quiet today. Terry, is it still 120 in New Mexico? Oh. I think Terry's still busy out there. All right, let's move on. All right, so this one, on the last class, we did our bear cross donkey kicks. So now it's gonna be a bear cross shoulder tap. So remember, if we're not comfortable, we could just do a high plank and do our shoulder taps here, okay? If we can, let's get in that bear crawl position. So you start on your fours with your knees, and then elevate your knees off the ground and tap your opposite shoulder, okay? So working on upper body balance here. Ready? 3, 2, 1, and go. 30 seconds. So tap your opposite shoulder. We're at 20 seconds. Keep it going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time. Whew. All right. We're gonna be doing reverse planks next, okay? So reverse planks. We're here fully extended, sitting just down, using our arms and our hands. What we want to do is elevate our legs and our hips off the ground. So we're gonna just be supported by our heels and our hands, okay? If you could come up a little higher, great. But as long as those hips and lower legs are off the ground, you're getting that upper body strength. All right, we'll start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Ten more seconds. And time. All right. We're gonna be on our feet for a little bit. Switch on over to our feet. Grab some water if you like. Actually burning a good amount of calories. So if you're in both classes, you should be burning close to like 400 calories between the two. All right, so we had our last one, our last tandem stance was right foot in front of our left. So now we're gonna go left foot in front of our right, okay? Left foot in front of our right here. Testing our balance. So again, about 20 seconds there. All right, let's look left to right. This neck pain is still there since Monday or Sunday. Thought it'd be gone by now. Up and down. All right, so again, be careful, be mindful, hold on to something. This is where we close our eyes. So close our eyes, separate your feet, open your eyes if you don't feel safe or comfortable. Try to pay attention to, sensations of your feet. If you're gripping with your toes from your back foot or your left foot, if your arches are irritating. 3, 2, 1, and time. All right, and then from here we're just gonna rotate slightly. Gonna elevate that back foot. As long as it's off the ground by 1/2 inch or a foot, you're okay. So you're just gonna do this little flamingo stance. And foot down. Very good. Awesome. Let's go ahead and do our tightrope walk. Okay, so remember, just find the longest stretch in your room, and we're gonna walk the tightrope 1 foot in front of the other. And again, slow it down. There's no rush. Once you reach that end, then you do it in reverse. Okay. Now we go in reverse. Right, once you reach your starting position, just kind of shake out your legs a little bit. I like kind of just crunching my ankles a little bit or my toes. All right, Next one, same distance, but now we're off our heels, so just on our toes, okay? So less surface area, more activation from your calves, your soleus, your Achilles, your arches. I'm gonna demand a little bit more from them on this one. All right, and reverse. And we are back to our starting position. All right. Awesome. What's next? What do we have here? All right.
It was interesting when we were just standing with one foot in front of the other. When my eyes were open, I was able to, well, kind of somewhat do it because I was still bouncing around.
Yeah.
But when my eyes were closed, I could not do it at all.
Oh,
it was just
yeah,
kind of really
it's-
weird.
Yeah, and it for me, I mean, I just as soon as you said close your eyes, my left ankle behind me is just kind of like, you know, it's like
Yeah, exactly.
like
It's
a
like
loose
not
bolt, like
staying.
in a tire. It's just like activating. So let's go ahead and slow it down a little bit here. We're gonna go with standing hip openers. So again, high knee. Bring that hip out, down. Try to avoid tapping the floor, and then come back up, in, and down. All right, so this is more of a stretch for your hip joint, but also testing your balance at the same time. So yeah, so for tomorrow's class, just be aware the Romberg stance, the tandem stance. We're gonna do some chair squats right now. Those are pretty crucial to this class, so we'll be doing those again, and we'll repeat, or we'll try to alternate some of the lifts, but there's some core movements that we just have to stick to because you get the most bang for your buck when it comes to time and effort with those. And I think I have one more. All right, yeah, I felt my hip on that one. Okay, so just kind of make sure you feel fine. You don't want to be limping the rest of the day. So let's go with our left foot elevated now. Yeah, so I have a 9-hour drive later today, and should be good for tomorrow morning. We'll have class tomorrow, but we'll see how my legs want to react after that long drive. So 2 more here. I remember next week we only meet on Saturday, so no classes Thursday and Friday. Last one. All right, very good. Oof, those hips. Let's go ahead and do big hula hoops. I'm gonna do it for my own selfish reasons right now. It got really tight right now. It's almost like when I don't know if you've ever been on a walk or on a run, and things just feel a little bit off, and you catch a red light, and you're super grateful that the light is red and not green, so you could stop and take a little breather. Switch. Let's go ahead and we're gonna do our 3-way slides. So for this one, they're similar to our round the clock one-legged squats. We'll do those tomorrow. But this one, we're just gonna elevate the right foot and just tap at that 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then 6 o'clock, okay? And then in reverse. So we pretty much wanna just do like this semicircle and bring it back. Now we're gonna go with our left leg. We're gonna start at that 12 o'clock and come around till we're at that 6 o'clock. And then take it back. Oof. Last one. Whoa. Felt like a surfer. Has anyone gone surfing before? I'm terrible at it. Alright. Very good. Okay, so we are gonna be doing some hip mobility and then transition to the chair squats. And then after that, we'll finish with our last few on the floor, okay? So for hip mobility, just gonna have a chair here. Actually, I'll use this side. That little camera's not gonna catch this motion. So we're gonna do 5 hip circles pretty much with this motion. So you could use either the rest or the seat, okay? So I'm gonna use this counter, and what we're gonna do is just bring a leg up and over, okay? And then I am using the support firmly. I don't wanna test my balance on this one as I'm doing this pretty demanding movement. So this is more for mobility, okay? Let's do one more. And I'm gonna switch sides. Go here. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, and 5. Awesome. All right. So let's find our chair. We'll be needing this one for the next 3 sets that we're doing here. So, all right. So if you've done this one with me before, you know what's coming. We have our chair squats. So first set is, all sets are going to be 8 of repetitions. First set is just going to be, well, not just, but both feet, no hands. So pressing your heels into the ground, keeping your feet nice and flat. We're gonna come up, no assistance of the hands, and stand up. Okay, so that's 1. We wanna do 8 of these. Try not to rock your torso to get up. Okay. And again, this one is crucial in case at some point we sprain our wrist, break an arm. We can't use our upper body and we need to get off a bed or just a chair. This is one of those movements that, you know, it's very important that we're able to do and have the confidence to do on our own. And last one. And rest. All right. Yeah, so when I was working at the physical therapy office with elderly folks or folks that just had weak back muscles, some of the main goals for those individuals, or even at a hospice or like a convalescent home, was to just get them to manage to get out of the bed on their own. So the number one like goal for a lot of these people were just to go from, you know, a laying position to sitting to just doing this. So huge movement that you know, it's really that we depend on. Next one is going to be the single leg. So remember, for this one, you can make it as challenging as you want, but just make sure that you're safe. So what I want to do is, just like the staggered RDLs, you want to slide your foot forward. Okay, the further it's from you, the more challenging it's going to be. And if you really want to challenge yourself, you can elevate that foot and come up, okay? But we don't want your feet right next to each other. We want to make sure that you at least slide a few inches forward, maybe a foot forward. But the closer that foot is to the other one, the easier it's going to be, okay? All right, so we're doing 8 of these. Ready? And begin. And again, now we're mimicking if we have a broken leg or a sprained ankle, or you have plantar fasciitis or something's wrong with your leg and you're only able to use one leg. So yeah, you want to have that confidence to, you know, get off a chair, get off our bed. If you're taking a bath, you know, you want to push up, so that's where that reverse plank comes into play too. Gonna do one more after this one. Ooh, felt it on that upper quad on that one. Alright, if we're ready, let's go ahead and switch to the other one. So go ahead and extend, and you know, to be fair, like we want to keep both lengths consistent, so we don't want to go super extreme with one leg and then the other one just here, unless we have some type of pain that restricts us from that range of motion. Ready, and begin. Because what happens is one leg becomes stronger than the other due to an injury or just not having confidence in that body part. Then we start compensating, and compensating usually leads to an injury. So we want to avoid that. I see that a lot with runners. Sometimes they start limping, they try to work with their other leg a little bit more, or their other arm, and then their body just doesn't react well to it, and they end up even worse. Whew, good job. All right, so we have a couple more things on the floor, maybe like 2 or 3 exercises, and then we'll start with our cool down. All right. Grab a little bit of water. World Cup going on. There's 2 games today. USA plays at 6. Alright, let's go ahead and go. So this is gonna be our slow alternating bird dog here. So this is just gonna go on our quadruped. So wrists right below your shoulders, knees right below your hips. Okay, we're gonna lift your left arm and your right leg and slowly bring it down. Then we're gonna alternate the other leg and back, okay? So yeah, so there's 2 components to this. You're getting a nice stretch for your back, regardless how fast you're going. But if you're going really fast, you're eliminating the balance component. So the slower you do it, the better, okay? So if you're doing it really slow and this one's taking you forever, then it's even better for you. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. We're gonna go for 40 seconds. And for these types of movements, if you wanna get I don't own any, but if you happen to own ankle weights, this would be a good one to incorporate into your workout. Ten more seconds. Three, two, one, time. All right, what do we have next? Okay, so we have our side plank with threading the needle. Okay, so it's gonna work your core and also a nice little stretch. So 2 ways to do this one. More advanced way would be a side plank on your ankles and your elbow. Excuse me, side planks and your elbows. You're here, arms up, and you bring that your hand through this gap below you and come back up. Right? So we're gonna do this for time again. And the easier modified version would be to have or rest on your ankles to your knees and then rest on your elbow. And now you're only supporting from your knees to your shoulder instead of from your foot to your shoulder. Okay, so either option. We're gonna go 30 seconds on each side. Where's my clock? Have my stopwatch up here in the ceiling. Ready? And begin. So you're here, follow your hand with your eyes. Come under you, extend back up. You're getting a nice core workout and some trunk rotation. And as I mentioned, planks make me sweat. So I'm sweating. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whew. All right, let's switch. Give you another 10 seconds to transition. 3, 2, 1, up. 30 seconds. We're at 10. 20. 3, 2, 1, time. Okay. And the last one that we're gonna do here for a little bit of stability is gonna be hollow hold. So this is where our arms are behind us, reaching, and our feet are extended in front of us. And what we wanna do is just elevate our shoulders off the ground a little bit and have our feet elevated. Work on that, on that front anterior chain. Okay, so we're gonna hold that for 30 seconds. So reach up, push forward with your toes, and then in 3, 2, 1, up. So heels up, shoulders up. Try to breathe, keep those hands up. If you're shaking, that's okay. I think we're all shaking. I'm shaking. Halfway there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. Whew. Good job, everyone. From there, we could do a couple stretches here on the floor. So you can have your hands off to your side, get in a sit-up position, okay? And then drop your knees side to side. So drop your knees, side to side. Bring that knee up to your chest. Good switch. Alright, bring the knee back to your chest, but now hold under your knee or behind your knee and then extend that lower leg. Alright, switch. All right. Good work. Oof. All right. Any questions before we head out? All right, folks, let me end this recording.